I'd like to pick up in verse 13, and we're going to read verses 13 through 19. It says, "One day when Job's sons and daughters were feasting and drinking wine at the oldest brother's house, a messenger came to Job and said, 'The oxen were plowing and the donkeys were grazing nearby, and the Sabeans attacked and carried them off. They put the servants to the sword, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell it.' While he was still speaking, another messenger came up and said, 'The fire of God fell from the sky and burned up the sheep and the servants, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell it.' While he was still speaking, another messenger came and said, 'The Chaldeans formed 3 raiding parties and swept down on your camels and carried them off. They put the servants to the sword, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you.' While he was still speaking, yet another messenger came and said, 'Your sons and daughters were feasting and drinking wine at the oldest brother's house, when suddenly a mighty wind swept in from the desert and struck the 4 corners of the house. It collapsed on them, and they are dead, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you.'" I don't know if that's a bad day or a bad 15 minutes. You think about it, one right after the other. They must have been just lined up on the roads to deliver Job that news. 1, 2, 3, 4, one right after the other. Verse 13, the Sabeans attacked. They took the oxen, they took the donkeys, and they killed all the servants in the area. Verse 16, fire killed sheep and servants. Verse 17, the Chaldeans took the camels and killed the servants. Verse 19, all his sons and daughters killed when the house collapsed. One right after the other. Could have taken, I read it in 3 minutes. Could not have taken long. Satan worked fast. Because God didn't limit the slow. He didn't say do this over time. So Satan decided, if I have control of everything, I'm going to take it all, and I'm going to take it all at once. And he did. In that 3 to 5 minute span, everything Job possessed was destroyed. So before we go on and we find out, hope you haven't been reading yet. Before we go on and find out how Job reacted to it, spend a moment right now thinking about how you would react. If you're here and you believe that Jesus Christ is your Lord, and everything that you own is taken, everything, all of your possessions, all of your sons and daughters are taken in even years, let alone 15 minutes like it happened to Job. Think for a moment, ponder for a second. What would you do? How would you react? What would you say? So, you have what seems to be the only 4 servants you have left around you. You have nobody else. And that's the sum of your life after this destruction. Let's take a look, verses 20 through 22. Let's find out what Job did. Let's find out if what Satan said earlier in the chapter comes true. Satan thinks that he's going to curse God, that he's going to turn away and say, "This is too much for me to bear. I don't believe." Let's find out what Job did. Verse 20. At this, Job got up and tore his robe and shaved his head. Then he fell to the ground in worship and said, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised." In all this, Job did not sin by charging God with wrongdoing. Job did 2 things. First, in verse 20, he fell to the ground in worship. How many of you were thinking that if I lost everything that I own, I'm going to drop on my knees and I'm going to worship God? I'm not going to say any, I'm going to do the exact opposite of not saying anything ill about him. I'm going to express my continuing love to God by bowing down and worshiping. He fell to the ground in worship. When I first read this earlier in the week, when I was first thinking about it, I was like, Job's situation was so extreme, and his reaction seemingly so extreme. It got me thinking about, what would the ultimate act of worship really be? He lost everything, and he bowed down on his knees and worshiped. What would stand out as an act of worship? A great act of worship. And I got drawn to Matthew 22, verse 37. Verse 36. This section is a conversation that Jesus is having with the Pharisees. And so in verse 36, one of the Pharisees challenged him with this question. It says, "Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law?" And in verse 37, Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind." To me, that expression embodies what Job did in that situation. He bowed down and he worshiped. In his moment of trial, he expressed his love, his continuing love to God. So Job fell to the ground in worship. Verse 22, in all this, Job did not sin by charging God with wrongdoing. In this verse, Satan's failure to accomplish what he thought he was going to accomplish is absolutely complete. You go back to the story of when Satan and God are talking, and Satan is like, if you challenge Job, Satan probably wasn't even thinking about all the stuff that he did to Job in those 10 or 15 minutes. He's probably thinking, if you just take away all his camels, it'll be so much for Job to bear that he'll turn away. Verse 22 makes it clear that Job did not sin by calling God and saying it was his wrongdoing. He did not charge God. That's exactly what Satan thought he would do. Satan made it clear. He's talking to God, he's gonna turn his back. But he did. Absolutely clear.